Japanese woodblock prints are among the world's most popular and recognized art forms. Images of landscapes, actors, beautiful women, handsome young men, nature studies, popular stories, and heroic tales have fascinated viewers both inside and outside Japan for centuries. Mass-produced and inexpensive, woodblock prints as a popular art form began in the 1600s and reached its height in the 1800s. But who bought them? Why were they made? And why were certain subjects so popular? To understand the world of Japanese woodblock prints, let's begin our journey in Japan of the Edo period from 1615 to 1868. After centuries of destructive civil war, this was a time of peace and prosperity. The center of political power was the city of Edo, known today as Tokyo, seen here in a photo from around 1865. In the late 1500s, Edo was a small fishing village, but by the early 1700s, it was the largest city in the world, a metropolis of more than 1 million people with a thriving, consumer-driven economy. Broadly speaking, a strict social hierarchy divided Edo period society into 4 groups. At the top were the samurai, the hereditary warrior class. Below the samurai were farmers, who were respected because they produced food, but in reality had little wealth or power. Because they didn't own their land and were not allowed to move, they are most often described as peasants. Finally, at the bottom of the social ladder were the artisans and merchants, known collectively as townspeople or chonin. They made up most of the urban population. So, samurai, peasants, artisans, and merchants. You can easily remember this as the spam system of social organization. Over the history of the Edo period, many of the townspeople made great profits and became very wealthy. However, the ruling samurai, as a way of demonstrating their status and reinforcing the social order, did not allow the townspeople to spend their money conspicuously on luxury goods or large homes. The townspeople could, however, spend their wealth on varied forms of entertainment, giving rise to the fascinating realm of popular culture that came to be known as the floating world, or Ukiyo. Ukiyo was originally a Buddhist term to describe the fleeting character of life, but for the townspeople, the idea of the floating world playfully referred to an idealized, extravagant, carefree life to be enjoyed. The floating world included restaurants, tea shops, brothels, a lively theater district, and a great variety of entertainments for those who could afford them. Because of the high level of literacy in Edo period Japan, the lives and lifestyles of the people of the floating world were popularized in part through novels known as ukiyo-zoshi, many of which were illustrated. One such work, Tales of the Floating World by Asai Ryoi, describes the world this way: living only for the moment, turning our full attention to the pleasures of the moon, the snow, the cherry blossoms, and the maple leaves, singing songs, drinking wine, diverting ourselves in just floating, refusing to be disheartened like a gourd floating along with the river current. This is what we call the floating world. However, the floating world is best known through the mass-produced woodblock prints known as Ukiyo-e, or pictures of the floating world, that acted as a kind of advertisement for its distractions. Such prints cost about as much as a bowl of noodles, making it a widely affordable art form created by, for, and often about not the samurai or aristocrats, but the everyday people of Japan. Among the many popular subjects of ukiyo-e prints were portraits of actors from the kabuki theater. Like in England during Shakespeare's time, male actors played both male and female roles. Equally popular were images of women considered great beauties, some courtesans, but others tea house servers, shop workers, or even women doing everyday domestic chores, as seen in this 3-sheet print. Prints of famous sumo wrestlers were also common, like this print of a grizzled veteran and a young rising star from around 1782. And many prints represented the workers and customers of the floating world engaged in its many entertainments. Interestingly, one of the best-known subjects, landscapes, did not arise until the early 19th century. Its sudden popularity stemmed from a number of factors: the lifting of travel restrictions, the development of a tourism industry and infrastructure, and crucially, the introduction of an imported chemical dye called Prussian blue that allowed large areas of blue seas and skies to be created with a stable pigment. Although ukiyo-e prints were produced hundreds of years ago and on the other side of the world, they represent a thriving and dynamic popular culture that has a certain similarity to our own. Maybe that is one reason for their continuing appeal.